Okay, let me wait another 2 minutes and we start.
Pranam Swamiji.
Namaste.
Swamiji, is sannyasi and yogi is same?
In a sense, it is same. In one sense, it is same. But one can be a yogi without sannyasa, without formal sannyasa. One can be a yogi.
Mm-hmm.
That is also true. But if he is a yogi, you see, because there is something called antara sannyas. That means in your inside you are sannyasi. So in the Gita you have these lines: sa sannyasi cha yogi cha. Now let us start. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya tuvaidhyakena yopa karatang pravarang muninam Patanjaling pranjaliranutoasmi. Now, we discussed last time the definitions of these three higher steps of yoga: dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. And the fact that these three steps are the intimate steps for yoga compared to the previous 5 steps. And even these steps, that means dharana, dhyana, samadhi, that means ordinary samadhi. Samadhi is of various types. Now, the ordinary samadhi, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, even that is not intimate when we think of this in the language of yoga, nirvija, that means seedless samadhi, the highest samadhi. With respect to that, even the ordinary samadhi is not the intimate sadhana. That means if you persist in that with tenacity, you may go up to that. That is the point. So then your Patanjali comes to a sutra where he tries to depict the state of the mind when you are struggling to control the mind. When you are struggling to control the mind, I say that state is your he says, Vyuthana Nirodha Sanskarayor Vibhava Pradurbhavo Nirodha Kshana Chittannayo Nirodha Parinama. Now, what does all these things mean? Now, the Rajasika modification of Chitta is called Vyuthana. Vyuthana, you can write it Wyuttana. I repeat, Wyuttana, Vyuthana. Now, this Vyuthana is the ordinary Rajasic modification of the chitta vrittis, whatever you call. And the highly purified sattika modification is called Nirodha. Nirodha means controlling. Bhuttana literally means you are waking up. Hello, Mr. Ganguly.
Hello.
You mute yourself.
Sorry?
You have to mute yourself. Your voice is coming here.
Sorry, yes.
When Bhuttana samskara is subdued and the Nirodha samskara is on the rise, then the chitta gets the little leisure and its allegiance is switched over to Nirodha. Normally, it is in the Bhuttana state. You are not a yogi, you are normally in the Bhuttana state. So, ordinarily, man's chitta is in Bhuttana state and the chitta is modified in the form of the object it is thinking about. When the chitta is one-pointed, for example, when a painter is painting or a mathematician is trying to solve an equation, even then there is some modification of the chitta. Though there is some concentration, there is some modification of the chitta. Due to the practice of detachment, if the samskara of Bhuttana becomes powerless, then the samskara of Nirodha becomes prominent. Chitta at that point is bereft of a modification, that means bereft of ordinary modifications, and stays in its own nature as an entity. That means normally chittas have it to have modifications to reflect on different objects, and this is an unusual state, but it happens. If that state of chitta lingers, then the chitta attains the modification of Nirodha. In the state of Nirodha, modification, there is modification also. Chitta is modified at each moment to a form which is similar to the earlier form. So, you see, it is not the higher samadhi because the struggle to control the mind is there still. And this control itself is a kind of sanskara it creates. So the mind is not completely restless because there is you are trying, a part of the mind is trying to control the mind. So it is like that. So that is, you see, but this state is called Nirodha Parinama. Now, next sutra says, Tasya prashanta bahita sanskarat. Now, the image here is of a river which is flowing very gently. Which is flowing very gently, and this is the state of the mind when, due to repeated nirodhas, it has attained a state of like this. So the mind, you see, becomes like a river which is flowing very gently. Prashanta Bahita, it is sanskara. Because without practice and without repeated struggle, you cannot advance. Now, next sutra says, Sarvarthatai kagratayo trayodayo chittasya samadhi parinama. Now, there is a sandhi, that means words have been joined. Sarvarthata and ekagrata. So, sarvarthatai ekagratayo trayodayo. Now, according to Swami Kuvalayananda, this sarvarthatai ekagratayo, etc., is better understood when it is sarvarthatai ekarthatayo. And now, what is this sarvarthata? Sarvarthata means the mind, the ordinary mind is running to different objects. It is not running to one object. Mind is fickle, it is running to different objects. So that is sarvarthata. Mind wants to know everything. And you say, so that is sarvarthata. Opposite to this, there is ekarthata. That means the yogi wants to fix his mind on one object. So it says, the sutra says, when the sarvarthata is on the wane and ekarthata is on the rise, you see, then the chitta attains a modification which is called samadhi. So, what is your here? What is happening actually in this sutra? They are not talking about the highest samadhi. They are talking about the state of the mind when nirodha is on the rise. Nirodha has become very prominent. The Bhuttana is much subdued because the yogi is struggling. So now the nirodha is on the rise. Yogi. So that is, you see, is a kind of samadhi, but that is being related to in this sutra. Then the next sutra is Tata Punah Shantoditau tullaprattayu chittasya ekagrata parinamaha. This is the real samadhi. What is it is saying that there is an idea in the mind at a given point of time, and this idea dies down, and the next moment another idea comes to the mind, and these two ideas are similar. So if that happens, then the mind has got one-pointedness. Actually, it means here the samadhi. Real samadhi is, that means from the point of time, if you think that what the yogi was thinking at one moment, the next moment the thought is the same in the mind. So if that happens, then it is that is the real samadhi. Puna shanto dutta. Shanta means it has been subdued. That means the idea has been effaced from the mind. Another idea has come udito, and these two subsequent ideas, they are similar. So that is now the next sutra says that when your and that means your before going to the next sutra, you must we must say that in the sutra, just we have tata puna shanto dito, etc. What Patanjali wants to draw our attention to is that what is happening in the yogi's mind in relation to time. So, you see, in relation to time, it is in the same state. The mind is concentrated on the same idea. So now, etena bhutandiyashu dharma lakshana avastha parinama vyakhyatāha. Now this is this needs much of explanation. What is dharma? For example, you have a seed, and the seed, you put it in the ground, it sprouts, and then the sprout transforms itself to a plant. So this is the change regarding a dharma. Let's see, for example, you have a water pot with which you carry water. At a given point, the water pot has a crack, and there is leaking of water. So you see, this dharma has changed. It no longer serves its purpose, which is carrying water. Similarly, that is in relation to dharma. There is change. Now, Lakshana, by Lakshana they mean the change with respect to time. For example, your seed, you see, after some time it is sprouting, and even in the sprout, you see, it is a tiny sprout and it is a little bigger sprout. Then it becomes a little plant, and the plant, you see, grows and manifests these other components like twigs, like leaves, like flowers, etc. So all these things, this is your Lakshana. You see, Lakshana means here the changes related to time. And then Avastha. Avastha means the seed is normally it is hard and small, sprout is much tender, and plant is big and comprises stem, twigs, etc., leaves. So this is a state, change of state. So now referring to the shlokas, Sutras 9, 11, and 12, the mind stop is changing according to vrittis. This is changes to form. It passes through past, present, and future moments of time. This is change related to time. Impressions vary as to intensity within one particular period. It's a present period. Sometimes it's much intense. Sometimes the impressions are much feeble. So this is your change according to state, avastha. So so the yogi must be careful about all these things because the concentration taught in these sutras, you see, they are, you see, taught with an idea to give the yogi a good control over the transformations of his mind, staff, chitta, in all its aspects. Now, that is your the sutra. Now, sutra, of course, the sutra says that bhutendiyeshu, in the objects, in the sense organs, you see, all the changes, you see, because one of the ideas of these sutras is to make us conscious about the phenomenon of change in nature. Change is perpetual, say, in outside nature and also in our mind. Now, the 14th shloka is Shanta, Shanto Dito, Shanto Dita Vyakpadeshya dharmanupati dharmi. That means Shanta, we have said that Shanta means which was prominent in the past and now it has been subdued. That is Shanta. Udita is what is on the rise. Or Vyakpadeshya, that means which cannot be indicated. That means it is related to the future. So that, the sutta means that which is acted upon by transformations, either past, present, or future, is the dharmi. That means one who has the dharma. That means it is the idea is that the mind, the chitta, is being acted upon by these transformations. So, Kramanyathyam Parimanyatye Hetuhu. The Kramanyatyam, that means Krama means succession. So succession, here we are in the discussion about anyhow it is here we are in the discussion about changes, and the changes, it is saying that the difference in the changes, the succession of the changes, is the cause of this transformation. Idea is that every moment there is some change. Say you have just built a house. From the day the construction is finished, the house is being changed by various things. Say by various things, it is working upon it, and the wind, the water, and other gases if there are in the vicinity, all these are acting, and rains. So it is like that, everything. You see, what is nothing, you have bought a thing, it's a new thing, and even after 5 minutes, it is becoming old, though you do not perceive it. So that is I say, that is the change, and so Parinamatraya Sanyamat Atita Anagata Jnanam. So you have, in respect of time, you have 3 modifications of any object. One was its state in the past, and then its state in the present, and there is a state which is yet to arrive, to come. Now, if you apply Samyama, now what is Samyama? Samyama has been described as the three operations, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. So, by applying Samyama on these three parinamas, not only respect to time, also respect to avastha, their avastha change, and their dharma is changing. You say, your a house which was new, then after few years it may have a leaky roof. So like that. So by Samyama, the yogi has Atita Anagata Jnanam, comes to know about the state of the thing in the past and the state of the thing in the future. It is, you see, so that is how, you see, that is how the yogis come to know about, you see, the state of the mind which a person in front of him will attain in the future, or the state of the mind which he or she had in the past. I say. So that is a flash to him. So the mind, you see, identifies itself with the impressions in the other mind. So thereby, you see, they have this knowledge, the yogi. Shabdartha, pratyaya, anamita, etar adhyasat shankara stat probibhaga sanjamat sarva vrita utat jnanam. By concentrating on the relation between a sound and its meaning, there is a kind of a mixed but unique knowledge. For example, you are saying cow, this is a sound, and there is a meaning of this artha, that is the animal, and so you have an idea, these two are mixed in your mind, this sound and this meaning, and you have a knowledge which is being flashed in your mind. If you can, provivaga sanyamat, if you can very minutely dissect this knowledge, that means you are applying samyama on the provivaga, that means dissecting them. You see, there are three things: shabda, artha, jnana. So sarva bhutar uta jnanam. And now all by this kind of samyama, you have the knowledge of the meaning of the sounds created by all animals. You see, it means that yogi understands what the bird is trying to say, what the dog is trying to say. You see, by dissecting this sound, its meaning, and the flash of knowledge within, and applying samyama on that. So these are your, because the chapter is on occult powers, vibhuti. This is occult powers. So these are occult powers. I remember when I was in Purulia, a yogi was there, apparently a very rustic yogi. And some people went to see him. This man, was able to see the bare body of all the persons. So this is an occult power. These occult powers are due to this, according to Patanjali, this is samyama like that, you see. Of course, Sri Ramakrishna, you see, again and again warned us that if you have any occult power, this may be a danger to your spiritual progress. But since your Patanjali is like a scientist, he is talking about all the occult powers which may be gathered by the yogi by the concentration of mind. Shabdartha pratyaya anamita eta adhyasat shankara, etc. We have finished it. So samskara sakshat karanat purvajyati jnanam. It literally means it when you are able to perceive the samskara, then the yogi is able to know his past existences by by this method. Now, so what the yogi is doing actually, see, all samskaras which we have, that means samskara means your thoughts or actions, both are samskaras, because action is nothing but thought fructified. Now, this samskara seems to die down. You may think that, oh, okay, this thought was in my mind and now it is not there. Actually, it is in your mind. Once you have a thought, especially if the thought persists a little, it does not go away. Even if it goes away, it leaves a seed in the mind. So the yogi rakes up the bottom of his mind, and all this, you see, died down impressions, they churn up, and then the yogi applies his samyama on this to have the idea of his previous past existence. Next sutra. Patayasya parocitta jnanam. He's saying that here in this sutra, that if you make samyama on the pratyas means your ideas, different ideas in the mind. If you apply samyama on this, you will have the knowledge of another mind. Swami Vivekananda, for example, he had the power of knowing the ideas in another person's mind. Now, after his return to India, Swami Shivananda specifically asked him how he could do this. Swamiji replied, it is very easy. You just make your mind a vacuum, which is not easy for an ordinary person without yoga practice. You must, you see, that means purge all the ideas from your mind. There is no thought in the mind. Then apply your mind on the mind of the person in front of his or her ideas will flash in your mind. This is what he replied. You see. So this is the kind of your occult power, this Parachitta Jnanam. There is a yogi who is a Bhojaraj. He used to say that in the person in front of you, because if you observe well his or her face, then and you apply your samyama on that, then you have the idea of the mind of that person in front of you. Nachatat salammanam tasya bishayibhutatvat. Now, the support, that means alambana means support. The support of the chitta of the yogi, and that is, since that is not the subject of concentration, the knowledge which he gathers about the another person's chitta is not related to his own chitta. See, so he knows. You see, when he's knowing the minds of others, you see, that process does not include the knowledge of his own mind, because this was not the subject of samyama. This is how normally this is this sutra is explained. However, Swamiji himself, you see, when he explained this sutra, he said that the yogi would not know the contents of the mind by making a samyama on the body. And see, that is how he explains this. You see, that means there would be necessary for having a twofold sanyama. First on the science in the body, and then on the mind itself. Yogi would then know everything that is in the mind. That means that is how Swamiji is explaining this sutra. Kaya rupa sanyamat tat grajya shakti stambhe chak prakasha asamprayoge antardhanam. If the yogi is applying the samyama and the kaya rupa, that is the form, the physical form, then that forms especially we see through the eyes. So Grajya Shakti, that means we, the man or a woman, you see, takes up another object by looking at it. And this looking is done by the eyes. So eyes are as if gathering the information from outside. Now when the yogi is doing samyama on the form of this person, the capacity of his eyes to gather information, that is blocked. And due to this blocking, the yogi will disappear from that person, from the view of that person in front of him. So yogi, this is an occult power. The yogi is seemingly, you see, is vanished. So that means he is making his by concentrating upon the physical form, the yogi blocks the capacity of the eyes of the person in the front of him to gather knowledge about anything. That means the eyes will not see the yogi. That means the yogi vanishes from the scene as if. So this is another occult power. Sopakramam nirupakramam karma tat sanyamat paranta jnanam arishtabhya va. Now, what does it mean? By making sanyama on the there is difference between between different texts. That means there's certain texts, one sutra is not there anyhow. Karma is of two types. Karma is of two types, which some karmas are soon to be fructified, and some karmas are late to be fructified. So that is sopokaram nirupokraman. By making samyama on these, or by the signs which are called arishta, portents, the yogi knows the exact time of separation from their bodies. That means they can know the time of their passing away. Arishtabhyam Adhatik, Adhibautik, Adhidoivik, Shatrute. That means that is in the enemies who are different types. Normally, there are some portents also. For example, they say that when you press the corner of the eyes, you normally see a luminous ring. So when you cease to see it, normally they say that within 7 or 10 days you will die. The yogi comes to know this, I say. But I know of different cases. It may be some other, you see. I have heard from many cases where even great bhaktas will come to know about their passing away. For example, this, the Pratap Chandra Hazra, who was in the vicinity of Sri Ramakrishna. The previous day he declared that next day in the morning, he gave some time, at this time he will pass away. So he asked his wife to inform the villagers during his passing away. So, and it happened like this. He actually passed away at that time. And he was doing japa. At a certain time, he said that Ramakrishna has come and other your Swamis have come. And he asked people to be carried to the Tulasi plant. And he requested Ramakrishna, whom he was saying, that please come to the Tulasi plant where I shall leave my body, you see, like that. So this is and I know another case where a yogi means he was a bhakta, great bhakta, the maternal uncle of Swami Kailashananda. He said that there was a temple inside the family property, and he said that after 3 days I shall die, so carry my bed near the temple. I want to die near the temple. So he died like that. So these are, I do not know whether they did samyama like that to have the knowledge. But this knowledge is as an abnormal power, so it has been mentioned here. These aristas are this is a certain size. You, for example, you lose smell due to old age. The faculty of having the smell goes away. Then you know that your time is almost near the end. The death is near. So let us stop here. To hear you, I must have the ear plugged. If you have any question, you can unmute yourself and ask questions.
Pranam Maharaj. Maharaj, Devjyoti here.
Yes?
Maharaj, Samyama is the application of Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. All three is what I understood. But isn't each
Yes, normally it is like that, but you can understand that if you have samadhi, you need not apply dharana and dhyana.
Right.
By saying samyama, it means intensely thinking about this.
Got it. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes. Any other question?
Swamiji, so this the practice of these types of concentration on others, why is it necessary? Because the main concentration should be on God, I think.
Yes, but you see, sometimes it may be necessary. You see, for example, if you want to help someone, etc., it may be necessary. But if that is your goal, then there is a great risk. There is a great risk. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that even one vibhuti is a danger. Because I say, once he went to see Naren in Calcutta. Naren used to normally for your convenience, because that was a better place, in his maternal uncle's place. You see. Now, there, paternal uncle. Anyhow, you see, so Sri Ramakrishna went there to see Naren. And Naren said that I was going out, but then I saw you coming, you and Latu, in a horse-drawn carriage over the bridge on the river, which is a few kilometers away. You see, and you were in the Calcutta city, lots of buildings, you see. Sri Ramakrishna advised that it is a bad sign that you have this occult power. You stop meditating for 7 days so that this power goes away.
Thank you.
Yes.
Maharaj, another question. You
Yes.
explained that thought, once it comes in the mind and persists for even a little while, even if it goes away, it leaves the seed. So
Yes.
for us, Maharaj, therefore, what is our, how do we progress? So those seeds are there. Is it enough to just not allow those seeds to sprout?
You see, seeds will be there. You see, by all the practices which are, for example, by doing japa sincerely, by prayer, you see, by singing devotional songs with full attention, you see, all these things will, you see, also create sanskaras and seeds which will counter these seeds. You see. So it is like that in your intestine. There are many bad bacteria. So you take probiotic to overwhelm them. So it is like that. Your whatever things, spiritual things you are doing, you see, reading a spiritual book with attention, or for example, reading the Bhagavad Gita and thinking about the meanings of that, all these are spiritual practices. If you do that sincerely, each act will create a kind of sanskara, and these sanskaras will act against the bad sanskaras. It is in that way that the yogi proceeds.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Swamiji, this is Raju speaking.
Yes.
With your permission, I'm just going to make a short comment on something. In fact, in science, the whole understanding of the human nature is that the human brain has evolved to learn a lot about other people and their other what is the intention of other minds. And here, in fact, what I think you are also saying is that the more you focus on your own mind and learn about your own mind, because other people have similar minds, you begin to gain insight into other people's minds as well. And I think although your focus remains on understanding your own path through your own mind, but this extra gaining of knowledge of other people's minds becomes useful as you go along in the journey.
And that is true. That is true. But you see, exact knowledge is something else. Once a completely unknown man came to Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna talked to him, this man, etc. And suddenly he said that, oh, I see that we are already transferred. He said, no, I have no knowledge of it. He went home and found that letter has come regarding his transfer. That means he could see it. You see, such knowledges are really yogic power.
Yeah.
Such knowledges are really yogic power. You see, in the Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, which is your recording of his sayings, not all sayings, when the person, your devotee, was there, you see, then he noted down. Now, there is a scene in October 85, you see, when there is one man called Mishra who was a Quaker Christian. About 11 in the morning, he arrived to Sri Ramakrishna. At 10:30, Sri Ramakrishna began to say, I am seeing a man, he looks like this, you see, and he asked Ramadatta, oh, do you know who is this man whom I am seeing? Ramadatta replied that you see so many things in heaven and earth, but I know about this thing. And then half an hour later, this man arrived, and he, of course, had seen Ramakrishna in meditation and said that he is a man like Jesus, etc., etc. So, you see, so such knowledges are yogic knowledge.
Yeah, True, true.
This is not ordinary your development of intuition. It is much more than that.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. All right.
So, Swamiji, one suggestion is that when you are reading the sutras, it'll help to say which sutra, which number it is, so that it just it helps to click what you're reading and where you are. I'm a bit lost in terms of where exactly we were in the whole Patanjali Yoga Sutra.
You see, I find in different books, we are in the Vibhuti-pada, third book of Patanjali, and there, this 22nd your sutra, about that there is confusion. That means there's some texts which are mentioning a sutra, some other texts are not mentioning. So there may be difference. We have just your finished 22nd sutra of the third book.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay, pranam Swamiji.
Thank you. Bye bye.